Okay, so in our continuing series of GeoFessr expeditions, today we have Colombia. First thing, it's not spelled the same way as the District of Columbia, Columbia, South Carolina, or British Columbia. Columbia, the country, has an O here. Okay, so now we can start. Usual settings. Okay, yeah. So this is, fairly typical. Okay, you can see these large things. These are banana plants. So this means that we are, clearly in a tropical climate, and that in Colombia uh, these actually will tell you something about altitude. Um, that 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 sort of the highest up inhabited areas, including the city of Bogota, probably would not have these. Um, that we're probably, I mean, we still could be like 2,000 meters up though. Um, and yeah, actually looking at the appearance here, I'm thinking, like some sort of cloud forest situation like that. Also, that it's clearly way down over here, right? If we get a view, yeah, that there's uh poor visibility, that we're basically in a cloud here, and that is actually quite common in Colombia. It's kind of a country that lives in the clouds. Um, okay, so there. Um, okay, so we have these houses. Yeah, so not uh, anything too obvious as to I'd be trying to figure out which country it is, and that so I think this is, this has to be in the uplands somewhere, but not at too high of an elevation. Uh, I often like this valley for this sort of thing. The Cauca Valley where Cali is. Um, and then that it's has to be some distance down to the floor there. Uh, Also, let's take a look. Okay, so that's um to our west. Um, So if the drop off were to our east, I might think that it could be the drop off all the way, into the Amazon basin on the on the east side of the country. But no, this is not positioned correctly for this. Um, okay. Yeah, so the architecture here, it looks a bit like Peru and Bolivia, but not really. Okay, there's more bananas. That's an interesting tree there. I wonder what that is. Okay, so I didn't have very much in the way of geographic clues at all, that it did drop off into a valley here, but but that it was more in the area around Bogota. And so as I said, the area Bogota itself, it's at like 2,700 meters above sea level or something like that, and is actually, I would think, that the climate there might actually not be conducive to those bananas, but this was probably several hundred meters farther down. Um, but it was in Cundinamarca department, which actually does surround Bogota. Okay. Um, okay, maybe there's more here. We have Asados La Curva. Let's see. Grill. The grilled is what that means, right? Like steaks. Yeah. So we have um some tropical foliage here. Okay. This has been pointed out as a sign that you are definitely in Colombia. As you can see that the sign has this crossbar on the back. Um, I don't know how people figured this out, but this is sort of the best known characteristic of Colombia on GeoGuessr is that you have this thing. Um, yeah, looking behind that sign, also you can see a U.S. type electrical pole that like for instance, you can see that there's the CAN capacitor up on it. Um, that for instance, Brazilian poles look very different from that. Um, that Colombia's electricity system, I think is it's fairly U.S. standard. That you have a lot of the same sort of parts that you would see in the United States. Um, yeah. Okay. So this, I mean, from the appearance, I think this is lowlands. That this is within a few hundred meters of sea level. Um, I think it's not extremely wet, which you would that lowland extremely wet you find on the west coast over here. Um, and in the corner next to Panama around Apartado here. I think that this is more in this area, and then it actually gets dry up in this part, which is called Guajira. That this doesn't look like Guajira. You can see that Guajira is on the other side of this huge mountain mass here from the rest of the Caribbean part of the country. But I think from appearance that this is probably in this part. Um, okay, so that's what a born looks like. We have PR 384901. Um, okay, so 38 is clearly the distance. I assume in kilometers, right? Um, what's so? Do the other things mean anything? I Yeah, so I was in the right part of the country. I mean, farther over here toward Venezuela than I was expecting. Um, it was 49 is the road. I think it may have said 4901 on that on the board there. Yeah, so it was near this town La Hagua de Ibirco, and then that it was let's see which uh, department is that in. Um, I think they're called departments in Colombia. It's either that or provinces. Yeah, so it's the one. Okay, so Agua Chica is in that department, and Valledupar. Okay, Cesar is what that's called. Okay, so it's the department south of Guajira. Um, okay, so now we have an urban location. Um, we have Museo Antioquia. Antioquia is the department that has Medellin in it. So um, and I think it's the only large urban area in it. So I think we have to be in Medellin then. Um, those look like California palms. That's interesting. Medellin is at not as high of an elevation as we have. Let's see, Plazuela Comercial Gutenberg. Um, okay, we have this building. Nutibora. Oh, there's a transit line that would give us right that or that might just be a freeway on a freeway overpass, but no, I think that's okay. The tourist information thing. Wait, we can't really go that way easily. Um, okay, so the line. goes in a kind of north-south direction, right? Yeah, so it looks like it's along the length of the valley is the direction of that thing. Um, maybe we're in here. Wait, I thought I saw Nutibar there. Um, Hotel Nutibara. Yeah, that there was. Yeah, so maybe we're in this Plazuela Nutibara. Okay, there's Parque Berrio. Hmm. Heritage Center in an elaborate building. We've got an elaborate building, certainly. Um, yeah, I think we're in the right place. Um, okay, so it looks like we're right about here. And that's where we are. Okay, so we 5K'd that round. Um, okay, this looks high in elevation, right? Okay, we've got people looking at the Street View car. Um, yep. Um, yeah, these people look, like more indigenous too, which, is I think in Colombia that's correlated with the highland areas. The areas at lower elevation tend to have people of European and African ancestry, and in particular, the African ancestry is very predominant on the in the areas that I mentioned that have very high precipitation, the West Coast and this area up here in the corner, on the Caribbean side. Um, that this, yeah, and also I think that this would be correlated also with being toward Ecuador, although I wouldn't. Okay, so we've got a valley down there. Um, let's see. So I think, yeah, that this is some sort of highly irregular, volcanic terrain. Um, I don't see like like a cone type volcano, but like these kinds of mountains are formed by lava flows. That they're um like geologically it looks a lot like California. This curb is interesting. I mean, I usually think of that as being more like the British Imperial sort of curb. You'd see this, in like India or someplace like that. Okay, we have Misión Medica. Doesn't seem to have a place on it. Um, yeah, I don't see anything there. Yeah, so yeah, I think I'm gonna put it down here actually near Pasto. Like that. I think this is closer to Ecuador. Just from that the middle part of the middle part up here. You have more of these broad valleys and things. That I think this is more of a mass of mountains. I think this is down here. Although, yeah, come to think of it, maybe maybe parts of this could be a possibility. But I think this area is probably rainier and would not look as much like this. Um, okay, and so without any clear geographical clues, I still got 57 kilometers off. Yeah, so so that was I guess a good round given what we had. Okay. Providence Tours. Okay, this sign is in English and it has this word Providence in it. Um, Believe it or not, Colombia has an area that speaks English. It's a historical oddity, and that the area in question is actually these islands off here, which you're surprised first of all that that it's part of Colombia, but you can see here that on the map we have San Andres marked here, and then north of that we have Providencia. Okay, so the sign says Providence, which makes me think of this island, and that this is actually that the people that live on San Andres and Providencia are mostly English speaking. Um, in fact, we may be able to see a guy down here. Maybe not. Okay, let's see. We went by some signs. Um, so you certainly do see Spanish in San Andres and Providencia, but that there is um, that the local population, as I said, like mostly speaks English. Relax. Okay. And from it being Providence Tours, I on the sign, I think it's Providencia. Um, yeah, so it's good we had one of these, that we actually did have around out here, like so that I can point out that, oh, it actually says San Andres uh, on there, I think. Um, okay, and so you can see this is a solidly tropical environment, with higher rainfall than the one than we saw before. Like this is really, tropical island sort of rainforest stuff. Um, that's an interesting poll. Yeah. Okay, so the population in San Andres and Providencia that, as I said, speaks English is mostly of African descent. Um, that what actually happened with these islands was that that England was trying to get involved in the whole Caribbean colony thing, and like that they found these islands, that okay, yeah, here more confirmation that we're on uh that we are out there. Okay. Um, that that what happened is that they were, that this was founded as an English plantation colony, and that it was it was a big irritant to the Spanish, that they saw it as getting involved in their turf. Um, there was actually a war in the 1740s, where the English attempted to land in Colombia with Virginia troops under the command of Vernon Washington, George Washington's father, and they landed, got up to the walls of Cartagena, and found that there had been a grievous strategic error, and that their ladders were shorter than the wall was, and so the assault didn't materialize. But that the Spanish after that saw this colony as a threat to their area, and then in 1775, the English got massively distracted by the whole situation in North America. The rebellion of those colonies, and so then the Spanish decided that that was their opportunity, and they seized these islands. And originally, the expedition to seize San Andres and Providencia was organized through the Spanish colonial government in Guatemala, headed by what was called the Captain General, that was loosely subject to the Viceroy in Mexico City. Um, but after taking over this colony, the Spanish decided, that it was cumbersome to put it in the administrative structure there. That they wanted this colony to be under the control of a colony that was more connected with their navy, for its defense, and that the obvious choice for them turned out to be, to run the naval defense of this area out of Cartagena. Um, and so that's why San Andres and Providencia are part of Colombia. Um, and also, an interesting thing is that that expedition that took over the English colony, that it turned out that the Captain General of Guatemala um, actually hired an Irish adventurer to head the expedition. I can't remember the name from what I was looking at earlier, but this sounds very similar to the origin of the O'Higgins family of the in Chile, the family of the leader of their uh, of Chile's rebellion against Spanish authority. Um, that in both cases, that the Spanish um, would actually allow Irish people to join their army and settle in their colonies, and that the Spanish at the time were very, they were very carefully guarded about, who they allowed into their colonies, because of concerns of, that they could be agents of foreign powers. But the Spanish believed that Irish people were completely trustworthy, that there was no way that an Irishman would ever betray Spain to the King of England. Uh, so, uh, so this is So an important thing to remember is that again is that Colombia has these islands, which are off of the coast of Nicaragua, and that these are part of Colombia, not anything in the area. There was also, I guess, in at the time that Panama seceded from Colombia, there was some sort of an attempt to get these islands to join Panama, which failed. Um, you'll also notice, in terms of English, there's this town Bluefields near here. Um, that the British, in the same era when they established the colony here, um, that they became involved with native tribes in the coastal areas of Central America that were kind of beyond Spanish colonial control. And at this point, also these tribes, they had incorporated quite a few runaway slaves into their population. Um, and so that here, Cayos Mosquitos, that the Mosquitos were one of these groups of indigenous and African people that the British were attempting to get in under their control and not the Spanish. Um, but Bluefields ended up you know uh, you know staying with the Spanish, right? That there's Managua. There's also another example I can think of. There's this town Livingston in Guatemala, and then of course there's Belize, the territory which that the English actually managed to keep. Um, so there is still a country that is the result of the English colonial push into this region. Okay. Um, so we like this map and we play it again. So second game. So I've only gotten a high of like 16,300 points, which is a silver, but I haven't gotten a gold on this country. Um, let's see, El Tigre, Imperio, um, Postobon. Okay, we have a thatched roof here. Um, oh this is Guajira. That I've seen that first of all, Guajira is the only part of Colombia that looks like this. That it's dry. Um, you know that that any place else would have more rainfall. It can look a bit like this, over oddly, in the Amazonian lowlands of Colombia, and you can see that this part of it is marked as not being forest. That that this area is actually, like farms and ranches and things, a lot of it. And it's not so, that it's actually a lot of this is natural. That the for that the that the Amazonian forest actually becomes drier, thins out in this direction, and then but it's relatively but it's wetter than this is, and then this really kind of like semi-arid or close to a desert appearance is what you find in Guajira. Um, and that the other thing that tells me that this is Guajira is that I've actually seen that this is a style that's used in Guajira with the thatched roofs. Um, And you see that a lot in Latin American countries in, areas with continuing indigenous cultural influence. Um, that people build native style huts. Um, yeah, the other thing is that in a lot of Colombia, like this wouldn't, that it's too wet to keep this sort of thing in good in well maintained. It will get um it will get soggy, like bugs will develop in it. And there's actually, something called Chagas disease, which, is it's something similar to African sleeping sickness that's spread by a bug that actually lives in thatched roofs. And so, but I suspect that there's maybe less of a hazard of that in a drier climate. Um, the insect that spreads Chagas disease is actually found. It's very widespread in the Americas and is even found in Texas. I guess in Texas the thing is called an assassin bug. Oh, hi. I have Camille in chat. It's you've been around before for these things, right? Yeah. So I keep going in alphabetical order here. Yeah, I guess that last round it turned out not to be Guajira, which is interesting. That was another part of the Caribbean coast. Let's see. So we have that this is urban area. That this looks maybe like somewhat like sort of mildly upscale, but also there's some more space here. I'm thinking maybe this is not Bogota, which is very dense. That this is some other city. Um, okay, yeah. Yeah, here again, like the poles have a somewhat more US kind of appearance. Yeah, there's the flag there. Um, okay, we have Colegio Sierras de San Jose as the map, as the bus stop. Um, yeah, nothing. Yeah, if we could read that URL, that would be useful. But um, yeah, yeah. So you can see the crowd standing here. Like this is maybe, like more European looking than, say, Mexico, but less European looking than Chile. Um, okay. Yeah, yeah, here this looks more like the Brazilian pole, but it's not the Brazilian pole, right? But uh like for one thing, in North America, that there's a lot of wood utility poles, and I think that in a tropical environment, it's hard to uh that there's more of a tendency toward concrete or steel, because of the termites. Um, that okay, so this is something that was pointed out on a video I saw recently about Latin American phone numbers. You can see that in Colombia you have you have all of these phone numbers starting with three, that look like U.S. numbers. And, of course, 313 would mean Detroit, but, like this isn't Detroit because it's in Colombia from the map, and, it's in, the site is in Spanish. We have Bancolombia here with the flag. Um, okay, I haven't guessed yet. I'm going to guess that this is some outlying part of Cali. I'm thinking that I'm thinking this is maybe, like somewhat lower in altitude, somewhat warmer. Like Cali would have, for instance, would have bananas, unlike Bogota. I think Cali is like 1,500 meters above sea level. Um, we have Sendero Peatonal. Okay. Oh, it was Bogota. Okay, but just an outlying area with more space, I guess. Um, yeah, in fact, that there's actually a country club near here. Um, yeah, on this Avenida Carrera Diez. Wait, what's 19 in Spanish? Uh, 19 or something like that. I mean, that would probably be understood, but sounds wrong. Um, okay. Supermarket Lady Juliet. Are we in San Andres and Providencia again? Um, okay, we have yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely the sort of place that GeoGuessr likes to give you, right? It's Dream Island Spa. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's yeah, English. So yep. So once again, from the English that we can see, yeah. So just so we know where this is again, that this is the Colombian mainland, and we have these islands here. There's actually more than just the two of them, but uh, that I think it's probably going to be just these two. So there's San Andres here, Providencia here, and that these are east of Nicaragua, but they're part of Colombia. Um, yep. And so, wait, was there English on that sign too? Um, okay, so the aguardiente ad is in Spanish, but on the other side, uh, entre San Andres y Cali. So this is oh, and this is LAN, I think, is an airline, if I remember correctly. Yeah, so that this means that we are in fact in those islands. Um, f- uh, in mentioning San Andres in the ad makes me think that it's here. Like it looks like it's advertising a flight to Cali. Um, Emmanuel Baptist Church in English. Okay, so yeah, this is San Andres and Providencia because um, that we have local language is English in Colombia. Um, and yeah, now that's relatively un-US looking gear. That's interesting, that we have this is a transformer. It has the plates on it, so it's not what like especially in the US the capacitors uh are cylindrical. But again, this looks very much like non-US electrical equipment. Um, Okay, so there's the church. Also, you'll notice this is a Protestant church. It does not look Catholic. Um, yeah, and so it was on the island of San Andres. We were 3.5 kilometers off. Okay, and so we've gotten that twice. In two games. Okay, so it's a common result. Um, okay, we've got another guy on the ground. Wait, is that okay? It looked like maybe the roof was caved in, but no, that's just the way it is. Um, okay, so this looks um, like kind of typical, smaller urban area design. We have mountains. Okay, so that means we're at least on the mainland. We have okay, we can look at the political sign. Those sometimes give locations. Um, let's see. The U party. I'm not sure which one that is. Um, Yeah, I'm not seeing a location on there. Um, okay, so this is, I think, somewhere again in the Central Highlands here. Um, yeah, although we it looks like we might have an elevated level of African Colombians, which would imply more, the Caribbean area or the West or especially the West Coast is okay. That we have, yeah, you can see here Colombian currency units must be small, right? Here we have 800. So that's often oh, and also I that we have an orange license plate. Um, so that's interesting. Um, and we're not in New York, right? That we you can find a lot of Spanish signs in New York City, but it doesn't look like this. Um, oh, there's a banana plant, so we're not at very high elevation. Um, okay, helados, Oxygenos de Colombia. Oh yeah, it's a Praxair truck. Okay, so it's the same people that sell oxygen in the United States, mostly. Um, right. What Praxair does is they distill air and like sell different gases out of it. Like particularly oxygen and nitrogen. Uh, the nitrogen, a lot of it being sold in liquefied form for cryogenic use. Okay, so it was near Cali. Okay, so yeah, so that might have been a better guess on the location, right? I had said somewhere in the Central Highlands, but hadn't specified much. And this valley over here is not really high in elevation. I think Cali is like 1,000 meters. And so the bananas definitely should have suggested, like maybe over here. Um, right, we have, let's see, hay motivos para creer. Yeah, so this from the general look of the foliage, I'm thinking this is seriously tropical. I think this might be the Caribbean lowlands. Yeah, there again, like there's the cross on the back of the sign. So I that this from what I've seen seems to be a pretty robust characteristic of Colombia is that the signs have the metal mount with the crossbar, and of course, since this is South America and not Mexico or Central America, the signs say pare. Um, that alto is used only in Mexico and Central America, and that Colombia has pare. Like all other Latin American countries that use Spanish or, for that matter, Portuguese. The signs in Brazil say pare. Um, um, yeah. Okay, so up here, there were mountains visible, right? I'm thinking maybe it could be over here, like and it looked like some smaller city, maybe like Fundacion, Bosconia, like yeah, there's a bunch of bananas there. Um, Yeah, it's sort of interesting, the only place where I've actually seen bananas in real life is around Hong Kong. Almost all of my traveling has been done in temperate zones. Um, I mean, I've been to Southern California where, it is possible for a banana plant to survive, but, they certainly aren't viable enough to farm there. It's that, if you plant a banana in Southern California, maybe you'll get something. Um, oh, there's the thatched roof again. Um, okay, so I was in the right part of the country, from the minimal clues that we had, right? Um, that this was a really small place, what was it, Los Vendos, something like that. Yeah. So you can see this town, that marked on here is, a Catholic church and a Pentecostal church. So I mentioned before the Protestant church in San Andres and Providencia on the previous round that you do certainly find Protestantism almost everywhere in Latin America, but that most regions are predominantly Catholic. Okay, um, so 13,090 points. Okay, so now our third game, for that's what I've been doing for major countries on here. Okay, so we're considerably up from the valley floor. Um, so you can see, it's not quite as tropical of appearance, but we still have this seriously red dirt, um, which I don't know, where you find that in Colombia. Okay, wait, which way is down? That's kind of an important thing, right? That. Um, so it looks like it's kind of north, looks like maybe we have kind of the same dominant north-south orientation of the valleys that you see in the central Colombian highlands. Um, it's even kind of slanted that you can see that the chains of mountains, that there's a dominant direction here. That also makes me think that we're not in the Sierra Nevada de Santa Marta here. Um, an interesting thing that this is one of the few areas where you can actually see a snow-capped mountain in a tropical environment from the sea. That this north end of the Andes is in some areas very high. I think, yeah, here Pico Cristobal Colon is the highest point in this range, and as I remember, it's something like 5,700 meters. It's okay. So I think it's down here. Okay, we've only got a minute and 13 seconds left. Uh, but I mean, this is you know, more of an educational stream. That was interesting. See that is that ash or dirt? Um, yeah, I'm thinking that's the result of burning. I was going to say maybe we have some black volcanic soil, um, which you certainly could have in Colombia, right? It's in the Ring of Fire. Um, okay, we've got dog looking at Street View car. So here's a view down into there again. Um, yeah, and so, uh, yeah, I would say from it being hundreds of meters down to the valley floor and just the general appearance here, I'd say, yeah, that maybe we were like 2,000 meters or something. Yeah, so we were here. Yeah, so we were probably looking down into the Magdalena Valley here. that um, this that there's that in the Central Highlands there's a very a very deep cleft in the mountains here. Um, that, as I said, Bogota is about 2,800 meters above sea level, and I think Medellin is about 2,000. But the road between them drops to just a few hundred meters above sea level in this area, and so the valley floor here, would look, it would have more of the rainforest appearance. You'd certainly see bananas, coconut palms, maybe even oil palms, although I think those are really, in Latin America are more something you'd see in some place like Brazil or Guatemala with, more flat, flatter land and that so um, that that before the development of modern transportation systems, it was actually very difficult for anyone to travel in and out of the Central Highlands. That what they actually did is they would go down into here, take the river, and it turns out that this river actually has long stretches of rapids and things like that. And so the trip was just complete hell. Like people actually died from malaria leaving and and coming back, from the Central Highlands. And so, as a result of this, Colombia actually developed one of the first airlines. Um, that they started to having flights, but between Bogota and I think Barranquilla, where the boats would arrive, and that those 1919 flights, they cost about half as much as a car. They were like $250. So if you try to adjust that for inflation, we're talking about maybe like $7,000 or in present day purchasing power. And that they that they I guess that they were in small planes, and that original that the first planes they would actually land on the water somewhere around here, and then people could be transported up to Bogota. Um, this being by 1919 and these being fairly wealthy passengers, I'm assuming that that part was in cars. Um, and probably on roads that were pretty impressively horrific. I mean, I know that I mean in modern times, of course, you can drive on reasonable paved highways between Bogota and the other side here with Medellin and Cali. Um, although I know that they've had problems with in the recent past with security. Actually, in this deep valley here. Um, that I remember reading a news story that they had problems with people setting up temporary roadblocks between Bogota and Medellin, and what they were actually doing was that they were stopping cars, taking people's identification, and comparing it with a database that someone had compiled for marketing purposes of 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 Colombians with higher incomes, and that it was a revenue kidnapping operation, which that those have in the recent past have been a problem throughout Latin America. Really, that usually the revenue kidnapping operations were founded by people that had started out as Marxist guerrillas, in the 1970s, and then that they just decided that they liked holding rich people hostage. Okay, so I guess the next round we have Ipiales. Okay, Frontera Abierta. Uh, I think Ipiales, the frontera that's being referred to, is the one with Ecuador. I think that because I know I've seen the name before. Oh wait, that's Ecuador. What I meant was near Pasto, right? Ipiales, okay. Yeah, so it is on the Ecuador border. Um, okay. Um, oh, this is really on the Ecuadorian border. Okay, so now yeah, so it looks like there's just the one crossing here, um, on this Highway 25, Puente Internacional de Rumichaca, international border in a leafy setting. Okay, so yeah, that's what this is. Um, 48-ton weight limit, like so this is a pretty durable bridge, like you might be able to that's at the point where you might be able to drive a man battle tank across it. Um let's see, mantenga la via limpia, keep the road clean. Super taxis. Okay. Yeah, oh, Rumichaca was, yeah, that's the Puente Internacional de Rumichaca. Yeah, so this is where it is. Um Let's see, and so now I can bloviate for a minute and 21 seconds now that I have the location picked out. Um, oh, the traffic island is actually on the map, right? So, yeah, so we have, yeah, Dirección de Impuestos y something, that's the customs, right? Impuestos means taxes. Migración Colombia, yeah, so we have, restaurant, hotel over there. Yeah, yeah, there aren't businesses marked on other than that. Yeah, so also interesting, notice the cut cliff face here. That this looks, yeah, it looks like sedimentary rock, in which, I would not have expected in the Andes as much, but there certainly must be a set. Oh, yeah, here's the migration over here, right? Uh, yeah, signs for cambio de moneda, right? So this is where people can exchange, their Colombian pesos for U.S. dollars, which are the currency in Ecuador, right? Um, yeah, so this, yeah, so that yeah, that's really true that Ecuador doesn't have a currency. Ecuador uses U.S. dollars. And I mentioned the size of currency units is useful in determining countries that Colombia, as we saw, has small currency units. That from the signs that we saw, probably several hundred pesos to a dollar, and Colombia uses U.S. dollars. You can see on the other side the highway is E35, and that Ecuador has these signs that look like U.S. interstate highway signs, except that the highways start with E. Okay, so we got third round. Okay, so this is forested. Yeah, there was another sign with the Colombian back on it, right? Has the crossbar. Um, yeah, like that. Um, okay. Yeah, so I think this is lowland. It's not it's not Guajira. Guajira would be dry. We have these people. Um, we have bananas, again, like so showing that we're at lower elevation. Um, yeah. Okay, now that we've seen a few more people, yeah, that this definitely looks like maybe more African ancestry than would be uh would be typical that we I mean the West Coast I mentioned is just completely rain pounded, that I think that, even that it would that I think that's interesting what happened there. Okay. Um yeah, so I'm leaning, in the direction of the Caribbean side again. Um, um, yeah, we haven't seen any language, so we can't really rule out, that it could be San Andres and Providencia again is another possibility, right? And if we see English, we know that. But also, like, yeah, I think that this is not an island, like I think this is on the South American mainland. There's the sea though. Um, okay, we have yeah. So if yeah, it could be the sea here, or again. San Andres and Providencia is yeah. I'll go with here for now. Um, and then if we see some English in the next 6 seconds, okay. Uh, that does look like the San Andres houses that we. Yep. Okay. Yep. That's where we were. Yeah. Um, so we didn't see any English, which would have solidified that we're on these islands. Um, okay. Next to last round, right? We have very like Peruvian or Bolivian sort of thing with the bricks, the bear bricks. OMG. Okay. Um, okay. So do I think this is actually in the lowlands or just it yeah, Quebrada La Uva. I'm not seeing any mountains around. Yeah, there's that orange plate again. Um, right. Oh yeah, we saw these thatch things before, right? That was in the Caribbean area. Um, we had that was over here, right? Um, and as I said, Guajira is also a possibility for this sort of architecture, but I think that this is not dry enough to be Guajira. Um, right. Um, we have Alcalá. Okay, that might be a place. There's Alcalá near Madrid, right? Also that Alcalá near Madrid has a stress on the last syllable, which wasn't indicated there. Um, that could have been Alcala and not Alcalá. Um, and Alcalá near Madrid, of course, is a place name of Arabic origin. Um, yeah, there's that concrete pole again, or that yeah, yeah, that you see um some U.S. looking at electrical equipment in Colombia. Like for instance, there that that capacitor is very U.S. looking, right? The round can that um but like for instance, that's a very non-US pole. It even has the holes in it like the Brazilian pole, except that it's not square. It doesn't have the indentations. Yep. Okay, so it was down here near Caucasia. Yeah, so this area is part of Antioquia department, which would that so that in a previous round we had that I used Antioquia to say, okay, this is Medellin. Um, that it's important to remember that parts of the department are in the Caribbean lowlands here, here near Caucasia, and also that over here is the Magdalena Valley, which is low in elevation. So that it's possible for something in Antioquia to not be highlands. Okay, last round. Um, okay. So we're in. This looks like it could be a smaller urban center, right? Um, yeah, there's the Colombian sign back again, like very, oh, there's some street signs over here. Okay, we have numbered streets. We have Carretera, uh, uh, Carante y Cuatro, uh, and what is that? Calle Setenta, right? Um, right. Oh, Éxito Barranquilla. Okay, so we know where that is. That's up here. I had mentioned Barranquilla in the, origins of the state, of Avianca, the very early airline that they had in Colombia, founded in 1919. Um, so we have 44 and 70. Okay, so we have Calle is in one direction, right? We have 61, 70, and then we want oh, it's Carrera, not Carretera. Uh, so it's Carrera. We have 44. So that's yeah, Hotel Éxito. That's what we saw, right? We returned to start. Um, we were near, let's see, aluminum and glass. Yeah, so there's a lot of businesses. Yeah, they're okay. Alum Glass, Alum Market. So there's a road to the side. Is that just the alley between the buildings? Yeah, that's what that is. Okay. Um, yeah, so it looks like we get to close with a 5K, right? That we have that it's a little farther up this way. So we have Four Essence, we have Frio Mas, El Ambiente Ideal. That might be is that about air conditioning? Maybe I don't know. Um, okay. Um, oh, so I didn't get a 5K because I was the wrong. Oh, that's interesting. Look, there's El Palacio del Alumino. There's Alum Glass, Alum Market. Um, something about aluminum in this area. But yeah, there's that fluorescence. And so then I also that I was wrong about. I had thought maybe this was that alley, and yeah. So this must have been the alley that I was looking at. Okay, so I guess then the score was not terribly high on that round, but okay, I've liked the map, and so I guess that we've played 3 games, and so we're done now. And so next, in alphabetical order, um, we have so this is CO. Let's see, CP is not anything. CQ is Equatorial Guinea. That's no coverage. Um, let's see, CSCT, CU is Cuba, no coverage. CV is I think Cape Verde, no coverage. Let's see, CWCX is Christmas Island. I think they might have coverage, but I don't think it's in Explorer mode. And Christmas Island, of course, is a territory of Australia. Um, and so then, yeah, so I think next is going to be CZ then. So the next one of these will be about Czechia.